Spice. For most of human history, spices were worth more than gold. They triggered wars, funded empires, and drove explorers to circumnavigate the earth in search of their origins. Today, the global spice market is valued at over $15 billion annually. But within that market exists a hierarchy of rarity, labor intensity, and geographical exclusivity that places certain spices in a category beyond ordinary commerce. Ranked by price per kilogram, scarcity, and historical significance, these are the most expensive spices in the world. Explained. Ranked 15. Cardamom. Guatemala and India. Cardamom is the third most expensive spice in the world by weight in most market classifications, yet its production volume places it 15th in this ranking. Native to the Western Ghats of southern India, it has been traded across the Middle East and Mediterranean since at least 4,000 years ago, appearing in ancient Assyrian texts and Egyptian medical papyri. Guatemala became the world's largest producer in the 20th century after British planters introduced it in 1914, now accounting for over 60% of global supply. Each cardamom pod must be harvested by hand before full ripeness to preserve its volatile aromatic oils. Green cardamom sells for approximately $30 per kilogram, while rare black cardamom commands significantly higher prices in specialty markets. Ranked 14. Grains of Salim. West Africa. Grains of Salim, known across West Africa as Senegal pepper or king, are the dried seed pods of the Xylopia ethiopica tree, native to the tropical forests of sub-Saharan Africa. Used as a pepper substitute for over 3,000 years across Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, and Cameroon. The pods release a complex aromatic profile combining eucalyptus, nutmeg, and smoky wood notes when ground. They were historically used to flavor palm wine and are still burned as incense in West African spiritual ceremonies. European spice traders documented grains of Salim extensively in the 15th century before black pepper displaced them from international markets. Today, they remain almost entirely confined to West African culinary and ceremonial use, commanding prices of approximately $35 per kilogram in specialty import markets. Ranked 13. Malab. Middle East and Mediterranean. Malab is a spice derived from the seeds of the St. Lucie cherry, Prunus mahalab, a wild cherry native to the mountains of Iran, Turkey, and the eastern Mediterranean. The small ivory-colored kernel inside the cherry pit is dried and ground into a powder with a flavor profile combining bitter almond, cherry, and rose simultaneously. It has been used in Middle Eastern and Greek baking since at least the 10th century, flavoring Easter breads, holiday cookies, and ceremonial pastries across Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, and Greece. The extraction process, cracking individual cherry pits to remove the kernel, is entirely manual and extremely labor-intensive. Malab sells for approximately $40 per kilogram and is virtually unknown outside its native culinary regions. Ranked 12. Sumac. Middle East and Mediterranean. Sumac is a deep burgundy spice ground from the dried berries of Rus coriaria, a shrub native to the mountains of Lebanon, Turkey, Iran, and Sicily. Its use in Middle Eastern cooking predates the arrival of lemons in the region by over 1,000 years, serving as the primary souring agent in ancient Persian and Arab cuisines since at least 2000 BCE. The berries are harvested by hand in late summer, dried, and ground coarsely to preserve their tart, fruity acidity containing malic acid, the same compound that gives green apples their characteristic sharpness. High-quality Iranian and Turkish sumac sells for approximately $45 per kilogram. Its growing international recognition as a lemon substitute has driven demand up by over 40% between 2015 and 2023. Ranked 11. Nigella seeds. Middle East and South Asia. Nigella seeds, known across the Islamic world as Habeta sauda or black seed, are harvested from Nigella sativa, an annual flowering plant native to southwestern Asia and the Mediterranean. They have been used medicinally and culinarily for over 3,300 years. Seeds were discovered in Tutankhamun's tomb in Egypt dating to 1325 BCE, cementing their significance across Islamic medical tradition for over 1,400 years. Their flavor is complex, combining onion, black pepper, and oregano with a faintly bitter finish. Thymoquinone, the primary active compound, has been the subject of over 1,000 peer-reviewed scientific studies since 1960. Premium cold-pressed Nigella oil sells for approximately $50 per kilogram. Rank 10. Long pepper. India and Southeast Asia. Long pepper, Piper longum, was the dominant pepper of the ancient world, traded extensively across Greece, Rome, and the Arab world for over 2,000 years before black pepper displaced it from European markets in the 16th century. Hippocrates documented its medicinal use in 400 BCE. Roman traders paid for long pepper in silver by weight. Its flavor is significantly more complex than black pepper, combining heat, sweetness, and a deep earthy warmth with notes of cinnamon and nutmeg that black pepper entirely lacks. The spice fell into near total obscurity for 400 years before a revival among modernist chefs beginning in the early 2000s. Authentic Indian long pepper now sells for approximately $70 per kilogram in international specialty markets. Ranked 9. Grains of Paradise. West Africa. Grains of paradise, Aphramomum meligata, are the seeds of a plant in the ginger family native to the swampy coastal regions of West Africa, particularly Ghana and Nigeria. Medieval European spice traders named the West African coast the Grain Coast specifically because of the spice, which commanded extraordinary prices in 14th and 15th century European markets as a pepper substitute. Their flavor delivers a complex heat combining black pepper, cardamom, coriander, and jasmine simultaneously, with a clean finish that black pepper lacks entirely. Medium grains of paradise sell for approximately $90 per kilogram. Ranked 8. Asafoetida, Iran and Afghanistan. Asafoetida, known in India as hing, is one of the most pungent substances in the culinary world, extracted from the dried resin of ferula plants native to the mountains of Iran and Afghanistan. The Roman Empire imported asafoetida so extensively that they depleted the closely related Ferula tingitana to extinction by the 1st century CE. Pure resin-grade asafoetida sells for approximately $150 per kilogram. Ranked 7. Fennel pollen. Italy and California. Fennel pollen is one of the most recently elevated luxury spices in fine dining, collected from the flowering heads of wild fennel plants growing across the hills of Tuscany and California's coastal ranges. The pollen must be harvested by hand during the brief 2 to 3 week flowering window each summer by shaking the flower heads over collection bags, a process yielding as little as 500 grams per harvester per day. Italian farmers in Tuscany have collected fennel pollen for centuries as a seasoning for wild boar and pork sausages. Premium Tuscan fennel pollen sells for approximately $250 per kilogram in international gourmet markets. Ranked 6. Kampot pepper. Cambodia. Kampot pepper is produced exclusively in the Kampot and Kep provinces of southern Cambodia, where the combination of maritime climate, mineral-rich red soil, and traditional growing methods produces a pepper widely considered the finest in the world by professional chefs. Red Kampot pepper, harvested at full ripeness rather than dried green, sells for approximately $300 per kilogram, making it the world's most expensive commercially available black pepper variety. Ranked 5. Vanilla. Madagascar and Mexico. Vanilla is the second most expensive spice in the world by retail price, surpassed only by saffron. Each vanilla flower opens for a single day and must be hand-pollinated within 12 hours. After pollination, the pod requires 9 months to mature and a further 6 months of curing. Madagascar produces approximately 80% of the world's vanilla supply. A single kilogram of pure vanilla beans sells for between $400 and $600 depending on harvest conditions, with drought and cyclone seasons pushing prices above $600 per kilogram in 2018. Ranked 4. Kopi Luwak pepper blend. Indonesia. While Kopi Luwak is universally known as the world's most expensive coffee, a far lesser-known spice derivative exists within the same production system. Asian palm civets that consume coffee cherries also consume peppercorns across Sumatra and Java, and the partially digested, fermented peppercorns recovered from civet droppings undergo the same enzymatic transformation as the coffee. The digestive process breaks down the outer peppercorn layers while fermenting compounds within, producing a pepper with dramatically reduced bitterness and an unusual smooth, earthy complexity. Production is extraordinarily limited. Fewer than 50 kilograms are collected and processed annually across all of Indonesia. The resulting spice sells for approximately $700 per kilogram in Japanese and European luxury food markets. Ranked 3. Oud spice agarwood. Southeast Asia and South Asia. Agarwood, known across the Arab world as oud, is produced when the Aquilaria tree becomes infected with a specific mold, Phelophora parasitica, triggering the production of a dark, extraordinarily fragrant resin as a defense response. Only approximately 2% of wild Aquilaria trees develop this infection naturally, making genuinely wild agarwood among the rarest biological materials on Earth. While primarily known as a perfume ingredient, powdered agarwood has been used as a culinary spice in elite Japanese and Arab cuisine for over 1,000 years, flavoring ceremonial teas, incense smoked meats, and royal confections. Wild-grade agarwood sells for between $5,000 and $10,000 per kilogram. It is listed as an endangered species under CITES Appendix 2, restricting its international trade. Rank 2. Saffron. Iran and Kashmir. Saffron is the most expensive culinary spice on Earth by weight, a position it has held for over 3,000 years. Each saffron thread is the dried stigma of the Crocus sativus flower, and each flower produces exactly 3 stigmas. A single kilogram of saffron requires the hand harvesting of approximately 150,000 to 200,000 flowers, all of which must be picked in the early morning hours before the sun damages the volatile aromatic compounds within the stigmas. Iran produces over 90% of the world's saffron supply, primarily in the Khorasan province. Kashmiri saffron, produced at elevations above 1,600 meters, is considered the most premium variety, selling for between $10,000 and $15,000 per kilogram. Saffron contains over 150 volatile compounds including safranal, picrocrosin, and crocin, which are responsible for its color, bitterness, and aroma respectively. Ranked 1. Long pepper from the monastery of Bhutan. Bhutanese forest pepper. Bhutanese forest pepper, harvested from wild piper species growing in the protected forests of the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, represents the rarest commercially available pepper on Earth. Bhutan's constitutional mandate protecting a minimum of 60% forest coverage permanently limits the harvestable area. The pepper undergoes a traditional sun-drying process on monastery rooftops at elevations above 2,000 meters for a minimum of 3 months. Its flavor is described by the handful of chefs who have worked with it as combining long pepper's complex heat with an altitude-driven floral clarity found in no other pepper on Earth. Authenticated Bhutanese forest pepper sells for between $15,000 and $20,000 per kilogram, making it the most expensive spice in the world by verified market price. From a West African seed pod worth $35 per kilogram to a Himalayan forest pepper traded under Buddhist monastery supervision for $20,000 per kilogram, spices have always been the most concentrated form of flavor, history, and human ambition on Earth. They built trade routes, toppled empires, and drove the age of exploration that reshaped the entire modern world. If this episode taught you something extraordinary, consider subscribing. Every week we go deeper into the food and ingredients that built civilization. And if you made it all the way to number 1, leave a comment below with the most expensive spice you have ever cooked with. We will see you in the next episode.